Welcome to Extraordinary Women Radio. I am your host, Cami Gellner. Women are being called to lead with voice, vitality, and vigor. Each week, join me for wisdom-filled interviews with extraordinary women living out loud and making a difference in our world. Their stories will uplift, inspire, and spark your own purpose-driven journey. Hello, my extraordinary women friends. I love when I have guests on the show who share my passion for breaking the rules of marketing and doing things differently. I had so much fun jamming with Cat Stancik on marketing and business building today. Bottom line, I think that marketing for the world of women entrepreneurs in 2023 is changing, and this is an episode you don't want to miss. Cat Stancik is a marketing strategist who supports professional service providers to create firework experiences that attract ideal clients into one place to spark conversations that lead to more sales. It's about relationship. It's about connections. It's about the experiences we create in our business. These are all the principles that I've been shouting from the rooftops about, and Kat brings her systems and processes background to the mix of all of this. I love all she shares with us today. Let's meet Cat Stancik. Well, welcome to Extraordinary Women Radio, Kat. I am so thrilled to have you on today.
So excited. This is going to be so good.
It is going to be so good. You and I have been in the green room just having all kinds of chat, and we just said we better just hit the record button and go, because I think we are so aligned in so much. And so I'm thrilled to have you on, and I'm thrilled to get to know you more too, because we haven't really gotten a chance to know each other even better. Yeah. So we've been in the peripheral of each other, but I'm excited to get to know more about your story.
Yes, similarly. And I love, this is just a great example of why it's so important for women to connect, because you can connect very quickly, right? Especially when it's the right community, which I know is something that you're focused on in terms of building that community, those connections and those, relationships with the right level people who can uplift each other. So it's always, again, great to make those instant connections with people. So
yeah, totally. And you have made the big leap out of the big consulting firm world into being an entrepreneur over the last several years. And I want to start there because I'm always fascinated with that journey of, how that went for you, what you learned along the way, and really, all that's unfolding for you, when you think about this journey you've been on, what have you learned through this time?
I don't know if I've learned so much in terms of new things versus one, healing trauma, but also really looking at mastery. I think all of us really already have a lot of the entrepreneurial skill sets, and we develop them pretty easily in the corporate space, right? So we know that we're supposed to improve ourselves. We know we need to learn new things, and we need to, just kind of get that next promotion, if you will. But it's very interesting how women especially, and I'm totally biased, so it may happen a lot in the male space as well, but I'm just going to go with what I know, how we erase all of our experience when we transition into the from corporate into entrepreneurialism. Like when we have a resume, aren't we always kind of grandiosing a little bit of our experience, right? We're saying, yeah, we did all these amazing things and all that other stuff. But then when it comes to a sales call, we're like, oh, well, can you please maybe buy from me? And so we're not talking about all of our skills and capabilities in the same way that we would have in the corporate space on a resume. So just my invitation for everybody to put down that erase marker and the erase, sponge or whatever it is, and really take a step back and reclaim the amazingness that every single one of us holds within ourselves, and really start shouting it out, because it's not sleazy and salesy when we stand for our worth.
Yeah. And especially when we come from that line of experiences, you have so much experience that is relevant today,
right?
From what you did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of this journey. And I think when I look across my clients, when I look across my own journey, when I look across your journey, this space of the work that we're being called to do, and there's no accident we went through the experiences we went back, we went through back in the day.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, I can pull that into this work that I'm doing, and it makes it even more magical. And that really creates for a brand for ourselves and the way we serve that is not like anybody else's, because nobody else has had all those years of experience, or those, those touch points along the way.
Exactly. And I think that was kind of, to kind of come back to that question that you're asking of like, that was for me the catalyst to make the transition, right? So,
Mhm.
my entire life has been, focused on conformity, right?
Mm.
Of this little girl just didn't belong, it's like Sesame Street, like one of these things don't belong like the others. And I was always like the one thing that was standing out. And a lot of my story and strength come from having to overcome those situations and really just getting to a point where I realized like the only way for me to really harness and claim and drive my own success is to be master of my own time.
Mhm.
And when I'm dependent on someone else's validation because of that insecurity, right, that developed very deeply in me growing up and not belonging, it was really hard to always be dependent on someone else's validation
Mhm.
because I was constantly seeking it and constantly needing to be reassured. And so, in making that transition from corporate into entrepreneurship, I had to really be my own battery source of validation. And I'm not going to back away from a compliment. Lay it on me. Tell me how amazing I am. I'm still going to take it. But the foundation is built on strength of my own determination and my
Yes.
own value versus a quicksand, right? Where nothing can be firmly planted or established.
Yeah, and was that the
Um,
trauma piece that you were referring to, is
I
like
mean,
really
all of
like
it,
breaking
like,
from the trauma of
yeah,
experiences? Because I
yeah,
think I can go back to my corporate days and know that there was actually a couple years of trauma healing,
all of it.
leaving the corporate world, before I really came back to knowing all of me.
I think that's one of the fastest way for an entrepreneur to be successful is to do the inner work.
Mhm.
And that path of entrepreneurship really started lighting up once I started doing that.
Yeah.
And I kind of stumbled into it kind of really accidentally, but it was, accidentally from my perspective, but very on purpose from universe, source, God, whatever you want to call it, their intention, right?
Yeah.
That this was something I needed to go through in order to evolve to that next level of who I know I could become. Is really helpful because, I've always said the biggest obstacles in our way aren't physical, they're in our mind's eye. And
Yeah.
so that's really what we have to overcome is, things that don't really exist because of past experiences, whether they were big T's or little T's, right? Little, big traumas or little traumas. Everybody has their own story. And, when we do the comparison monster, well, her life was worse or her life was better, that serves nobody,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So really looking into where we're wanting to get to. And I tie that a lot to like marketing approaches. So I know we've talked about like bro marketers offline, but bro marketers and pink predators, right, are the people who punch people in the face with pain, right?
Yeah.
And this is old school selling, right? Like, traditional, how you get people to buy is to make them feel as worse as possible about themselves or show them everything that they're missing from not doing this with you and how you can solve all of their problems. It's really more about connecting people to the possibility of
Ah,
what
so
life could
true.
look like, right? When they
Yes.
solve this problem with your help and your expertise and what that can do for them, because that really puts the focus back on where it should be, which is on the individual person.
Yeah, yeah, and I always say this to my clients. I have never purchased a coaching program or invested in my business because of fear or pain. I
Yeah.
have always invested, and I've invested heavily in my business.
Right.
I have always invested in the possibility of,
Yep.
the potential, what can be. And so
Yes.
that's always where when I get my checkbook out, that's what I'm basing
And
it
I
on.
would bet that you got results because of your investments, because you came from that place of investment and
Absolutely.
because you were more empowered by your decision versus
Yeah.
crippled.
Yeah.
So the second that I feel that I have to pull someone to make a decision or push them, I stop and go, this isn't a right fit.
Yeah, it's
Um,
nice to let that go and open the space to
it's
somebody new.
Right. And that's the piece I think a lot of people struggle with is acting and doing that in faith because, there's a place in the beginning of business where you don't necessarily have a full pipeline. So for you to say no to someone is to say no to money right now. And that's when we make those exceptions, right? With
Yeah,
clients and all we end up being and getting is exceptions in our ass. All right.
yeah,
So really looking at, what's the structure you want to have in place? Because when you have that full pipeline, it's so easy for you to say next.
yeah,
And that is empowerment
yeah,
because it's not about making a sale. It's about finding the right people to support.
Yeah. So I know you work a lot in the world of opening people into or bringing people into pipelines. What
Yeah.
are some of so give us some of your wisdom around that.
Yeah. So it's not about hustle.
It's not about hustle.
I
We're
was
both on that same page. Absolutely.
just
And we're
talking to
not about
someone.
launch and launch and launch and launch. And
Oh my
it's,
God.
yeah.
So this is what I saw a lot of. And I graduated from this school too. I graduated from Hustle. I was taught those strategies and was like, I can't live my life like this. Like I might as well go back to corporate. Right.
Yeah.
And so what I see a lot right now, still in the online space, and let's talk about these 90-day programs because it's a great structure in terms of time frame. But so many accelerators or boot camps or intensives, right, still focus a lot on this hustle component. And even when they say they don't, and here's how I know that hustle is involved. If you go through an accelerator, if you go through one of those 90-day things, even if it's a year-long program and you're not walking out with something in your hand related to a system and a process to duplicate the results that you got from that investment, then you're not focused on the right things,
Yeah.
right? You're still in the camp of hustle and
Yeah.
grind.
And over again. And it's
Right,
like, yeah,
because
absolutely.
you'll get on the other side, and let's say you're one of the ones that made money, and that's awesome. You're going to look around and you're going to say, how did I do it? I'm not 100% certain what actions led to these results. And a lot of people come out of it having burned relationships, pushing and forcing people. And I've seen a lot of people have people cancel contracts because they pushed them really hard for the sake of the sale, right, versus the sake of the relationship.
Right.
So I think
And so the
that's one of the
relationship is
things
really
is
key.
there's no time that's too early in your business to focus on the system and the process, the repeatability, which means the confidence to create results in your business on a consistent basis.
And what I love about this, because I know of your background, is you were in the operational project
Right.
management space, and so you're really bringing that. Okay, let's really look at this from a process perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like what you were talking about earlier in terms of all the different experiences. It brought me to this point where I'm just like this weird, like unicorn hybrid. So you've got like business coaches out there, right? And they position themselves as business coaches, but they're really just life coaches who are calling themselves business coaches, who a lot of them don't have any business
Right.
experience, qualifications,
They
or
saw that as a lucrative space, so I'm just going to jump
right.
into that
It's
space.
just what people will invest more in. And
Right.
fine, right? And is there a place for mindset in business? Absolutely, right? But call yourself what you should be calling yourself. And then there's, the people who are very like, do this one thing and you'll get all these results, right?
Hmm.
And to me, that is so confining, especially as undiagnosed ADD. I'm TikTok diagnosed. Like that, I can't abide by constriction. I don't like to only have limited options. I like to be able to explore. And so what I did was kind of pull all of my different experiences in terms of I have my ICF certification, right? So I am certified as a coach. I have the ability to go there and, I'm getting that highest level of accreditation. I have my MBA and I have all these project management experiences and all this other stuff, and really looked at what does it take for someone to be successful? And it's that repeatability without the boredom. So if you know exactly what to do every month, but it still provides you the freedom of creativity and an ability to change and modify, especially for a lot of us who are entrepreneurs, it really feels more empowering and exciting. And if you like doing your lead gen approach, then super scientific theory that you're probably going to do it. And that's the biggest opportunity for most entrepreneurs is they've fallen for this. Either you got to hustle and grind, or this is the only way to do it.
Right.
And I've got 20 different firework experiences right now that you can choose from. And it's really about finding what is it that you enjoy doing. And most importantly, what a lot of people are not talking about, which is it's not just about that one thing. You are important. Absolutely. What are your ideal clients going to respond to?
Yeah.
So I'm going to use
Right.
like the 5-day challenge as an example.
Yeah.
If you're working with corporate America, right, you're not going to get the CEO of a Fortune 100 or
To
1000
go five
company
days with
to
you.
do a 5-day challenge. Now, there is a
That's a
way to do it.
relationship building tool,
Right.
right? I mean, that's a relationship building
It's just not in alignment. And we need to
approach.
find those strategies that are in
And that's the
alignment.
strategy of it, right? I mean, that's
Yes.
the bottom line of and that's is why I like what you're saying here. There's multiple ways, but you really have to understand your clients. You need to understand,
Yes.
how are they consuming content? How are they
Exactly.
learning? And also, are you trying to get 100 people or are you trying to get 3 people. I mean, there's just so
Quality
many.
over quantity every day. I
Yeah.
mean, I happen to work in high ticket sales.
Yeah.
So, that's easier to say. If you're selling $100 product, like there's still
Yeah.
firework
I tell my
experiences.
clients, please don't sell $100 product.
There's so
Let's
many
get that
times.
up.
But that's their path to walk. Like that's a
Yeah.
value thing, which is always, there's what you could charge and then there's what you're willing to receive. And I've
Right.
seen a lot of gaps, pretty
Yeah.
ginormous in those two numbers.
Yeah.
And, me charging what I charged initially for my group program and what I'm charging now, have I evolved it over time? Yes. But there was this very specific period of time where I changed nothing in the program. And that price point difference was the difference between $1,000 and $6,000.
Yeah.
And it was just my ability to
To be
receive
able to,
that money.
exactly. And that's such
Right.
a big shift when people get to that point. And that's, I think it's one of the biggest things that will change up a business,
Yeah.
is to get out of the low cost. You can't build your business, you can't create a business model stuck in low
No,
price.
and it's everything you talk about in terms of like simplifying your business model, making
Yeah.
sure that it's not, feeling complicated and heavy, right?
Yeah.
And your version of solving the problem
Yeah.
is in that way too. And it's so important. I cannot tell you how many times I've worked with someone and they were in the wrong business model. They were using wrong strategies. They were using the wrong approach. They were supporting clients in a way that didn't light them up.
Yeah.
And one of the question that I ask my clients over and over again, and I swear they start getting annoyed with me with this, which is, how does that make you feel? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, how does it make you feel? If you are excited about this, then you're going to do it. If you're not, then we need to figure out how to
dragging
get
your
you
feet.
excited.
Yeah, totally. So I want to go back to your firework experiences because you said you have like 20 different ones. So what is a firework experience? Is that the right word? Okay, firework experience. What is it?
So I usually explain it with a story because it kind of like lands for people when I do it that way. So I know a lot of your people have that corporate experience or background. So let's do a little flashback, in the day and I remember this very specifically, where someone would come and like knock on my door, right? And honestly, it was a cubicle, but let's just pretend. So they knock on the door and they would be like, I need this report. Where's this thing? Who's in this meeting? And just constantly all day long, and I couldn't even get my work done, which is why I had to do stuff either before or after. Now, and it's enough to make you want to like scream at the person or yell at them or throw your computer, so whatever level of HR you want to get involved. Now, what if instead that colleague came to you and said, hey, I've got 2 tickets to the Pink concert, right? So if you're watching the video version of this, there is a strong resemblance that I have with Pink. But, let's say, you're really excited. What happens? You get really excited about it.
Yeah.
The meeting that you couldn't reschedule at the end of the day, you reschedule it with no problems.
Yeah.
You don't have a babysitter for the kids. You're going to find the babysitter. You're calling
you're going,
right?
You're going.
You are going to that concert. And what happens?
I'd be with you.
Right? Like who's going to say no to that?
Exactly.
So you go to the concert, right? And you have an amazing time because Pink puts on an amazing concert. Yeah. What do you start doing? You start posting on social media. You start taking pictures. You start advocating for her. Someone's like, I don't know if I'm going to go. You start, no, you got to go. And here's why. At no time did Pink ever reach out to any of us individually and ask us to do her a solid. Can you promote this online for me? Can you share this? Can you post this thing or whatever? Can you put the link to the concert Ticketmaster checkout page? No, we had such an amazing experience that we felt compelled to share it because it was actually sharing value into the world and it made us feel good. So our opportunity as entrepreneurs is providing that level of value when someone interacts with us.
Yeah.
So that second piece of think about it this way. Ever opt into something that you were super excited about getting and then you got it and you're like, this is a hot piece of garbage.
Yeah.
How did you think about that person before you got it in your inbox? And how did you think about that person after? Because that person didn't think about your experience with their content, they lost the sale.
Yeah.
And they never knew who you were.
Yeah. So it's really that how do people feel in that experience once they come into that customer journey with you?
Driving the value. Yeah. And the secret to making how firework experiences work, once you harness that understanding of this is how I'm going to drive value, is the value that you're providing is making that person a better buyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the opportunity that a lot of people are missing. They're going to solve all these problems. Let's say you just open up the kimono and you give someone access to your course. You're not making them a better buyer. You have to solve a very specific thing in that value that you're driving that demonstrates what the next level is. And oops, look at that. It just happens to be working with me. It's
Yeah.
not manipulation or anything like that. It's just, if this makes sense for you, let's have this conversation and let's not pretend that I'm not selling and that you're not buying.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you have hit on here is saying, because we started on, don't sell on the pain, don't sell
Yeah.
on the scarcity, but knowing and understanding their problem is so intricately important,
Yes.
so that you can help them have that experience of that problem getting solved. And then from there, there's, okay, what's the next evolution of what you're going to help them
Right.
solve in the next part of it? That's the customer journey. And the
Yes.
more we know that customer journey, the more we can really, more intimate we are with that customer journey,
Yes.
the more we can really serve our clients in better ways.
Exactly. And when you have that and you drive that, what you're doing is you're marketing differently.
Yeah.
Right. So everybody's out there screaming in the crowds, pay attention to me, come over to this thing. It's like that circus, person on the podium trying to get you to come into the tent. Like, it's creepy. And instead, it's like tuning into a radio station that someone's already listening to. And
Right.
you just happen to be the next song that they hear.
Yeah.
It's just an easier flow state to tap into and to very quickly create a very engaged and targeted community full of your ideal clients. It's the difference between renting an apartment and
Mhm.
building your own house. We know
Mhm.
which one builds wealth and we know which one has the creepy Craigslist roommate.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success, because we want to be able to tap into our community of people and be able to promote and sell, because there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Anytime we want, and know that the community is full of people who are already interested.
Right.
So
Right.
it
It's
really
really
takes
funny.
that sting out of stuff. Yeah.
One thing that, again, we're aligned on this from the perspective of, I will draw a marketing funnel for my clients, and I call it the no love and trust funnel.
Yeah.
So we're talking about when your people are coming in the top of the funnel, they're getting to know you and they
Yep.
get to trust you with more of the educational piece, and then get to the bottom where they're signing on with you.
Yeah.
They've fallen. It's a no love and trust. They've said yes.
Yes.
And so you're building that. However, what I do differently with it, I'm like, okay, what people will tell you all the time is to start at the very top of that funnel.
Mm.
And what I'll say is, no, let's start at the bottom of the funnel of the people that already know, love, and trust you,
Yeah.
and really build those relationships and grow from that. And then, yes,
Yes.
you have to build the top of the funnel as
Sure.
well, but start at the bottom of the funnel. And so many people, people just don't talk about it from that perspective.
Oh,
And so
100%.
it's what you're saying in here is really build on relationships, in a way that there's this no love and trust, that there's this,
Yeah.
they've fallen in love with you, they've had this firework experience with you, and they want
Yes.
more.
Yeah. So I do the same thing, and I talk about a bullseye, and I haven't found a less like aggressive term for that, because I'm not about like killing people with my copy or tripwiring them and murdering them to buy from me and stuff like that. So that's bro languaging. So if you're using that stuff, just be conscious about it. It's not attractive. So what's happening is that, a lot of us have ADD, right? So if you don't, so entrepreneurs are 300% more likely to have ADD than any other industry or kind of career. And if you don't have it, you have the tendencies. Like, it's called squirrel syndrome, right? Shiny ball syndrome. We've heard of that.
Totally.
That's ADD.
Yep.
Right. So what happens is we're chasing the dopamine, right?
Mhm.
Because we can't always see the results immediately. We need to feel validated and good about ourselves. Like, we accomplished something. It's a difference between busyness and business. So what happens is instead of focusing on the inner circle, right? Those are the people that you're talking about who already know, love, and trust you, who are familiar with your body of work, who are advocates, ambassadors, whatever, raving fans, and selling to them. What we do is we do the things that feel like we're accomplishing something, because those conversations can sometimes take a while, especially when you're, asking $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 from someone.
Right.
So we hit the dopamine, which is clicking that connect button, which is sending out some really silly messages online, right? That's the outer circle work. That's trying to make cold contacts warm. And the amount of energy and effort that goes into that will cause your hotter prospects to go
away.
cold.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So it's like adding
Yes.
a big bucket of cold water into a hot bath.
Mm.
But if you add warm water into a hot bath, not as bad. easier to heat up again, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really our focus should be initially in getting the people who are already connected to not only buy from us, but to advocate. Because there's three ways of looking at people.
Hmm.
Most people look at them one dimensionally. You know, are you a buyer? Are you a buyer? Are you a buyer? Right? Credit card transaction, credit card. That's the bro marketer approach. There's two other ways to look at people. One, yes, there's absolutely, is someone a prospective buyer? Yes, we're in the business of being in business and we're in the business of staying in business. Now, the other two ways is, does that person have my people in their community? And is there a relationship I can build there to get in front of them?
Hmm.
And the third way is that person a connector? Can they connect me to my next opportunity, which could be someone who has my people in their community? It could be an affiliate. It could be a
Right.
power partner. It could be a client. So this is how we turn one connection into an infinite supply of leads when we look at people multidimensionally instead of just as a credit card transaction.
I love that. I love that. I often will refer to what's your collaboration quotient. So, who are the
Mm,
people in your community that you can reach out
yes.
to that, are there for those different dimensions that you're talking
Right. Right.
about that can show up and, or you can show up for them and from
Yeah.
different dimensions as well. And, when we have those people in our community, we can, I can go back to Ignite last year, my annual conference that I do.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we were, like a month out. My numbers weren't where I wanted to from an attendance perspective. And I reached out to some really high profile people who like started sharing it like crazy with their
Hmm.
communities. And I do the same thing for them on, for example, one of them just was running a master class and I was like, you guys need to go to this because and I'm actually a client of theirs. I'm like, you guys
Yeah.
need to go. So this is that
Yeah.
fireworks piece, right? Because
Right.
I'm telling them you need to go to this. I'm already a client of this company and they're amazing what they do
Yeah.
and this will really help your business. And
Right.
so we have like those kinds of relationships are so they're just invaluable into how we can really grow our
Right.
businesses.
And you don't need 30, 40, 50 of them. You just really
No.
need a handful.
Yeah. Yeah. In
And one
fact,
of the
you
important
can't serve
things,
that 30, 40, 50. You can't even serve
you
10.
can't, I mean, that's too much energy that
Yeah.
goes out. You're going to
Yeah.
constantly be, having calls
Yeah.
and things like that. But it's really about curating that inner circle. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the most important pieces, there's a reason why you were willing to share that, because I would bet there's a bunch of people who approach you to share stuff. You've built an amazing community, you have
Yeah.
a very reputable brand, and delivery for results with your clients, like
Yeah.
that's just known. So one of the reasons that this works is because they have something that's worth sharing.
Right.
If that company that you worked for decided to put out a 5-day challenge, how likely would you actually share that? If you did it, it would be really out of like an I owe you kind of situation,
Right.
but you would know sharing that with your community, they wouldn't respond to it. So you'd be less likely to share it. It's why
Yeah.
we want to make sure we have those things in alignment so that we do not only have something that's worth sharing, but two, we want to put in the structure and the system in place that allow people to share it.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit because I think that's an interesting angle to take this for a
Right.
moment because especially
So
your background, what's the process and
how
systems
do we get
behind
people
it?
doing what we want them to do? Right. So we're human.
Right.
And we get distracted. We also know that we get very easily distracted. So this is what I call like using information to our advantage. So we know that there's a lot of bro marketers out there. We know that there's a lot of crap content. Let's just be real, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we know that, then let's use that information to our advantage. Let's create valuable content. Let's not take a bro marketer approach.
Thank
And
you.
so how we get people to do what we want when it's in alignment, it's not manipulation, right? This is about, I have something that I know is worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
This is valuable. And I'm sure everybody listening to this right now knows that they have something that is so freaking good, but it's not being shared the way that it should be. And the likelihood is you're not making it easy for people to share. And so this actually comes down to affiliate marketing, and what people sometimes call JV stuff or whatever it is. But basically what we want to do is we always want to give people the benefit of the doubt that they meant to share it and they got busy. But we have to make it easy. And what that means is we need to give them the information so that they can share it immediately, get that dopamine hit, and feel good that they just shared something. So that means giving them the email copy, and don't make it shit copy, right? Do not give them your copy. They're not going to want to share what you just sent to your list. There's no incentive for their people if you happen to have already cross-pollinated. They're going to see the same email. So
Right.
give them the social media blurb. Make it really easy for for them to literally copy and paste. I have gotten things from, people that I was like, all right, I'll do you a favor. And I have had to spend 30 minutes rewriting the copy because it's not
what
good.
you would say. And it's not
I know that
like
people won't
authentic from
respond to
you.
it. Right. So you're asking a lot of me to
Right.
write your copy, to put in your, pictures and all that stuff. Like, it's simple things like making sure that when in the SEO kind of settings or whatever, that there's a picture there that's related to your website, so that if I ever post the link, a picture of the thing shows up, right? It's things like how you're making the ask. Are you being consistent, or are you calling in an 11th hour thing?
Yeah.
Right? Are you giving to people and building that credit with them so that you can write yourself a blank check? And all of this can be systematized, right? You can do this with intention, but so many people are just chasing the 8 ball, and that's not sexy energy, right? Like, so help people be advocates for you by giving them what they need in order to be successful advocates.
Yeah. So good. So good. So, I mean, our world, you and I could go on forever on the world of marketing, because I think we're just so aligned in so much of this. What do you see some of the shifts that are happening in the world for women entrepreneurs in 2023? What's some of the, I think, we've come out of COVID, we got through last year of all the, and we're into 2023, and I feel the newness of this year right now.
Yeah.
And I actually feel lightness in this year. I feel a different lightness. What do you see are some of the trends, some of the insights that you have into what's in front of us?
I think one of the things is definitely simplification. So like your geographic area, 100%. I think people are realizing that they've built a business they don't love. That they're not hyper passionate about, that they're not just getting out of bed in the morning excited to deliver on. Like,
and they don't want to be just back into the world of being that executive that they were, and suddenly back into living the same life
to another, like, you don't want to chain yourself to another desk. Right. And so I think that there's this shift of looking at, it's okay to be a boutique business. Actually, it's more than okay. I know multimillionaires who pay themselves less than people who generate 6 figures in their business. And they're not happy.
So build smart businesses, right? Look at the business model that's there.
And looking at what delivery mechanism makes you happy. And and I know you said this before we hit the record button, and I fully agree, which is there's no rules in marketing. There are no rules. There are no rules. Like there's,
and if you're following the rules, chances are your marketing is getting numbed down because you start to sound like everybody else.
I think there's a big shift in delivery that's happening. It's already begun. It started happening a little bit more last year, which is people are tired of buying a dream that stays a blueprint on a piece of paper, right? So it's about really getting direct support from the person, from the team, being very clear in the marketing and not very vague. I'm seeing all people who are very tangible with their marketing value be way more successful than people who stay fluffy in their languaging. So what I mean is, if you are someone who sells clarity or confidence or, whatever, or just calling something a plan, like, I'm going to help you have a strategy plan. No, people don't buy that. Do they appreciate it? 1000%. They don't buy it. They don't buy it.
So go deeper into what they're going to accomplish with it.
So basically people need to actually communicate the value of what they do in a way that feels like I literally have a piece of paper in my hand. So if I say, when you work in my Firework accelerator, right, you're going to have 1,500 templates. You're going to walk away with a process that is fully documented. You're going to have a 365 marketing plan where you know exactly what you need to deliver in terms of an email requirements, in terms of your marketing, in terms of your content, in terms of your Firework. You're going to have diagrammed out exactly your ecosystem to go from connection to close, right? So those things are very tangible. If I say, you're going to feel better about your offer, we're going to talk about, what it would look like to create your $1 million. If I see one more person plan out $1 million business as a value add,
as if you're going to just sit down and write out a plan for $1 million business.
And that was a big thing 5 years ago. We're just going to create your $1 million and you're going to feel good for 5 seconds. And then you're going to look at it and be like, how am I going to do this? So simplification, strategy, right? And then honestly, it's really about, I love the term, it's not work-life balance, it's work-life harmony. And I
Mm-hmm.
think there's just so much more
Yep.
around the work-life harmony that's going to be happening.
Totally.
And people really being niched down and very boutique.
Yeah.
And here's what I want though. And this is what I haven't seen. And I hate this for women. I really want women to start collaborating.
Yeah.
We still act from a place of scarcity. If someone's going to buy, they better buy from me. Right.
Oh gosh.
It's okay
Yeah.
to sell somebody else's
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
but be
It's
picky, be in alignment, but challenge yourself to actually email a sales invitation to someone else's offer,
yeah.
because we are conduits to getting to the right person, and you may not be the right person. So allow people in your community to get the right support, because at the end of the day, what they're going to remember isn't, how you try to get them to buy from you, right? Or anything like that. They're going to remember how you facilitated their success.
Oh, absolutely.
Because how many of
Absolutely.
us have actually referred somebody that we never worked with because we liked them? We want to build an army of people who are willing to refer us because they have experienced the value that we drive, because they understand the integrity that we have, because we are very focused on delivering real results.
Yeah.
And so aligning our actions, our marketing, our strategy to that is really going to help people propel and be way more successful. It's one thing that the bro marketers do really well, and I have to give them credit for that.
Yeah.
They promote each other without fear. And I think women could learn a lot from that.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm such a big proponent of women in community or in collaboration. Right. I mean, I just think that's I think that's our gift, right? I mean, I think that we actually do have a gift that I think the bro marketers do it differently from the perspective of it's such hard lines associated with that, where I think our gift as women is actual real relationship and real connection at a deeper level.
Yep.
And that's where the power comes from, is that deep relationship.
Exactly.
And so it's different, but it is our superpower.
Exactly. And we've been taught not to trust it. Right. I mean, I'm not going to be like, hardcore on the patriarchy aspect of things. Like, it is definitely there. There's a lot of things that need to be changed, but we also have to own the fact that we know better now.
Yeah. And I think this is the evolution where women can really step up and lead in different ways.
Yes.
With the best of our gifts, and that wisdom that we have will change how business is done in the future. And that's what I'm really excited about when I think about women and entrepreneurs in the future, is, into 2023 and into the future, is that we have the ability to shift how business is done. And that's super, super exciting for me. Yeah. So where can people learn more about you and your business?
Is it okay if I share a free gift?
Sure. Totally.
Awesome?
Yeah.
So, I actually, like, one of the things that I love is podcasting, obviously. So what I've done is actually I've built a community of podcasters. And so once a month I host a podcasting networking mixer, and it's where people who are using visibility as a strategy to scale their business. So whether you are a podcaster, you're a guest expert, you're a speaker, or you just love going live on any of the platforms, I invite you to join us. It's on the second Friday of the month at 12 p.m. Eastern. And basically, it's where people come together to connect with each other, get booked on other podcasts, and really kind of build their network. It is for 6 and 7 figure business owners. So it is a high caliber group. There is no toleration for pitch slapping or bro marketing approaches. I don't have time for that. So if that's how someone comes into it, and I know your people are not that way, so I don't have to worry about it.
That's right.
And you can find it at leadbossmixer.com.
Excellent. Excellent. That sounds amazing. And the final question we always close with are, what are 3 pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave us today?
1, be yourself.
Yeah.
Fully, like, just, don't worry about the not enough. So I say, it's not about the not enoughness or the too muchness. It's the allness. Bring all of you to the table. If you can dream it, then it's possible. And all you have to do is find the evidence. And the evidence is already all around you. So it's really about taking those aligned actions. And I guess the third one is really, you don't have to hustle. Do you have to do the work? Yes. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be one of those people. But when we do work that we enjoy, time isn't the same.
Yeah. And make space for that the work that, create white space, create flow, So you're not like rushing from one thing to another to another. And
Exactly.
that's what gets you out of the hustle. It's more of a mindset thing actually discovered
Yeah.
than even what we're putting on our calendar. Because
Yeah.
we can have a lot of white space and still move through a lot of
Right.
hustle because we feel like we're moving between something all the time
And I know
versus,
that you've experienced that in terms
oh,
of the
totally.
more success you've been having, the more time you've been creating for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the opposite of what we see in the movies or, what people tell us. And it's just like, at the end of the day, success is your demonstration of mastery of time.
Mm,
So you get to decide how and where you spend your time. And that doesn't mean that there's a negative counterbalance in terms of how much money you're making.
yeah.
So those things don't have to be correlated, meaning you can work less and make more. It's
Yeah.
not about more time, more money, more time, more money, and really looking at the opportunities to streamline things and make things more efficient because the one thing we're all running out of is time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love all the process that you're bringing to your work and love what you shared with us today. It's really fun to spend time with you. And thank you for all your wisdom today.
Thank you so much for having